pain of marrying the wrong person is worse than your present fear of remaining single.
When I tell you, Hey you guys, welcome back to Mom Jeans by NUTCASE. It's yours truly, the NUTCASE Casey Nicole. And, you guys, deep breaths. I just had to come on here real quick because I just got done watching that whole series, Who the Did I Marry? And I had to make a video about it because, I don't have any tea. I don't have any extra information. I really just had to talk about what this woman said. And the reason I had to talk about it is because, no, I didn't necessarily have an exactly similar situation to what she's talking about, but I was in an extremely horrible marriage. And it was not only the other person's fault. I had faults as well. But when I tell you, I watched that whole series and I was triggered. Like when I say triggered, I mean triggered deeply from what she said. And I just feel that there needs to be more of a conversation about marrying the enemy. So that's what we're going to talk about real quick. So stick around, you guys, because I just got to process some things and get some things off my chest, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about, or say at least, is my commending how I feel happy for and respectful of this beautiful woman, Risa Tisa, okay? Girl, I don't know if you're ever going to see this video, but I just want to tell you thank you. Thank you for being courageous. Thank you for being strong. And thank you for being truly authentic and sharing your story, because you said in the video that it was a little bit overwhelming, like during your live where you were answering questions. And I can see that, like in your story progression, I can see that there were certain moments of, I don't know if I should say this, or kind of like questioning yourself, not so much in what you chose to do, but just with telling the story. And I could see that there were moments when it was challenging for you. So I just want to commend you, because you said that your intention was to help at least one person. And I think you've helped a lot more than one person. Good job. And thank you for your courage. Now, when you talk about marrying the enemy, it gets real dicey. All right. And before I forget, you guys, be sure to like the video, subscribe. I'm so glad to have you here. And I hope that you stay, because it's time for us to literally question everything that we have believed and everything we thought was true about that which is our beliefs and our lives. Stick around, guys. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to situations where people find out that they have married the enemy. And one thing about this whole situation, and the reason why I wanted to commend Risa Tisa in the beginning of this video, is because there was so much like unfounded backlash that subsequently she got by posting this video. Now that's to be expected, because we're talking about the internet. We're talking about online, and we're talking about the keyboard warriors who hide behind a screen and ridicule others for their choices of what they choose to release. And we're just talking about regular people in the population who have their own individual experiences and opinions. So, take it with a grain of salt. Anything that you put online, you have to expect to get some type of backlash. But the amount of backlash that I feel like she got for telling this story is crazy. And it's kind of what I talked about in my video when I talked about regretting having my kids. It's like, People don't seem to understand that every decision we make is based off another decision that was made prior, whether it was our own decision or whether it was a decision of another person, which ultimately ended up affecting us. But every decision or choice that we make is a direct result of a choice that was made prior, because you just have to continue living and you keep having to make these choices if you want to continue to move through life. If you stop making choices, then more than likely you'll become desolate. So it just was amazing to me how much backlash she was getting for simply expressing the truth about her story and how she felt and what she experienced. Because in my opinion, that's what I've been doing for a long time. And I feel like that's the best thing for you to do, because not only do you get to get it off your chest, but like literally hearing your own voice say things that you've never said out loud before, it can be extremely cathartic. It can be extremely therapeutic. It can create a level of awareness within yourself that you did not have prior, especially if you're posting it on a social media platform. This can be true when you talk to your friends or your family about situations that you deal with, but it's especially true when you talk about something on a social media platform. And I feel that not everyone is able to do this, but she took a lot of accountability, and I really don't feel like she deserves the backlash that she's receiving. And if she hasn't heard it yet already, which I'm sure she did, because a lot of people did support her for speaking up, but I definitely support this woman for telling her story and for speaking up. It gets so dicey when you find out you've married the enemy. And yes, there are a lot of red flags, and I think there's a lot of things that people just ignore in general when it comes to different situations that go on around them. So I completely understand why, people would look back on the situation and say she was so dumb or she should have known better. But in reality, that's why they have the saying, hindsight is always 20/20, because when you look back in hindsight at your choices, hopefully if you're a healthy individual or if you're someone who strives for mental, emotional, and spiritual health, or physical health even, you will strive to learn from your mistakes. You will strive to grasp the lesson that your higher power was trying to teach you. But there's always going to be situations where you make choices and you make decisions and you look back on those decisions and you find out, well, maybe I done fucked up. And I think that we as people should be able to understand how to give others grace when they're in these situations, because I just feel like that's not happening. It's a lot of people who don't see themselves in these people. They don't see themselves in people like me or people like you if you are someone who speaks about your life experiences and what you've learned. And that's unhealthy, because at the end of the day, that discourages people from giving raw, true, honest accounts of what they've been through, which then discourages or hinders the people who need to hear these stories from getting the information, which then prevents people from having a clear picture of life and causes them to make messed up decisions or decisions that are counterproductive to their overall growth and well-being. I just think that's something we need to observe as people. Now, I personally feel like I married the enemy. If you have not watched any of my prior videos and you are completely new to this channel, you can go back and you can see this video here, which I talked about escaping a narcissist. And you guys, I forgot, it's been a long lifetime. Feel free to check this one out too for reference. Now, I will say again, I am not a licensed doctor, lawyer, or psychologist. I am not able to diagnose any particular disorders or symptoms of anything that you or anyone else is going through. Don't get me wrong. My observations in certain situations are just from personal experience and individual research that I have done through reading or through my own therapeutic endeavors to find out more information. That's all this is. So I'm definitely not trying to diagnose anyone. I'm definitely not trying to say that I'm the expert, but I made a video about how I quote unquote escaped a narcissist. In this video, I just broke down some of the ways that I worked towards escaping an extremely emotionally and mentally abusive situation. I'm not going to say that I did not play a part, because I definitely played a part. I had a role, and the United Nations of red flags was waving in my life as well. Okay. Them suckers was waving, and the wind was whipping and slapping them bitches around, and I did not care. And I feel like that comes from a lot of deep issues. But it's interesting because not only did Risa Tisa come out and say her piece, but on social media, I also found a video, which you guys might have already seen, where this older gentleman, 51 years of marriage, is talking about how he just found out his kid's not his. Okay, play the video.
I have been married for 51 years. Got 2 sons, 42 and 40. Damn deadbeats. I'm still supporting the little boogers. Needed to take a test to see if any of us had a kidney good enough for my brother. Found out something interesting. They ain't my kids. There's somebody else's. Of course, the only good thing is, I know it's not my fault that those 2 idiots got dumped into this world. Hell, I thought they took after their mother. Instead, they take after the plumber or the postman or the milkman, or, yeah, there were milkmen back when they came around. I mean, God only knows. It sure gets old. I do wish I knew who the real fathers were. And they ain't the same. She was bopping a couple of different guys. But if I could figure out who they were, I've been practicing law long enough that I pretty well figure I could sue their ass and get all my money back that I sunk into those 2 deadbeats. It just chaps my ass that she couldn't tell me. I'd probably forgiven her. Maybe not. You know how it is. Yeah, boys, y'all need to go get your own paternity test. You can't tell by looking who's the daddy unless you're looking down at the genetic level. I've been in court thousands of times in paternity suits, and 4 out of 5 times, guy says he ain't the daddy, he's right. And the genetic test is the only way to prove it for sure. These women are hopping everything that looks fun. You thought you liked sex. You ain't nothing. Well, I guess that pretty well completes that story. I'll go home, start drafting up some divorce papers, see if I can't get free of that crazy bitch. I mean, I stayed with her for the sake of the children and the grandchildren, now the great-grandchildren. But they ain't no kin of mine. Fuck 'em.
That is just yet another example of people finding out that they've married the enemy. Now, when it comes to marrying the enemy, I feel like there are several silver linings within those situations. I'm not sure exactly what to get into first, but I guess I'll kind of touch on my experience in my marriage, just briefly, because if you want to see more about it, you can go back and watch the video. My marriage was trash. Basura, okay? Trash. And it was not going anywhere, and it was not going anywhere fast. And when I look back on the marriage experience that I had, it was definitely a combination of lack of self-esteem, bitterness, grief, and also an idea that let me go ahead and do this now. Let me go ahead and get married and get the kids out of the way now so I can lock this in and solidify my place as a woman, so I can define my womanhood, so I can prove to myself that I am a valuable member of society within the feminine energy as a woman. That's kind of my mentality. That's really why I got married. It was because I didn't feel love. I didn't love myself. And I thought that being married and having a child would improve my life, because that's what I saw as the example of technically what makes women happy is being married, having a husband, having a child, making a home, and everything that is thrown in our face all the time about those type of topics. So me finding out that I married the enemy, it honestly didn't really click, because if you even, there's a friend of mine who met me when I was still married. And this was literally like 2 kids in and, maybe 4, almost 5 years, right? She met me like really close to the time before we ended up splitting up. And I was down. I was riding for my husband. I was the type of woman at that time who was not super religious, because I've never really been super religious, but I was in a position mentally where I believed in God, which I still do. It was kind of like, you know what? This is the life that I chose. And my attitude towards everything in life is, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna motherfucking do it. And that's what I was doing. I was kind of still brainwashed a little bit by society and by what my ex-husband was doing, that I knew there were issues, but I was still in a place mentally where I was willing to try to work through those issues. It was kind of like I had 2 brains. It was kind of like I had 2 minds in this situation, which is extremely mentally exhausting. And that's why I can relate so much to Risa Tisa, because on one hand, from the moment I got married, I knew it was a problem, but I'm not the type of person to make my bed and not lay in it. I also had another mind where it's like, okay, every marriage has problems and everybody goes through things. If I were just to abandon this person when times got tough, who the fuck would I be? Who would I be? Honestly, like, who would I be if I were to just leave and abandon my marriage without giving it 110% of my effort, right? Now, I will say this quickly changed because I got fed up. And the reason why I got fed up was because there was a time that came where the mental and emotional abuse that I was facing started to bleed over into my children. And then it got extremely personal. Okay. It got extremely personal when it came to them starting to grow up and experience and witness this emotional and mental abuse, and also be, by association, victims of it as well. So I really started to resent staying. I started to resent the fact that I had kids with this man. I started to resent him as a person, and I began to resent myself. It was kind of like, we got to do something. And I had, like I said, the 2 minds thing is crazy, because I had always been doing something to make sure that this was not a situation that I was going to be in forever. And it's crazy because it's like my subconscious was fighting with my conscience. When Risa Tisa said that she had checked out at a certain point and everything she did was technically to be independent from this man and to get on her own, I completely, wholeheartedly, 101% relate to that, because that's exactly what happened. Every job I got, every opportunity I had, everything that I did to better myself was because I knew there would come a day where I had to get the fuck out of there, because it was so bad. It was so bad that it was either going to be him or me, and it wasn't going to be me, bitch.
It was going to be him.
And I think that's something that a lot of people underestimate within women, is our ability to be a chameleon and adjust ourselves accordingly for survival. That's one of the evolutionary ways that we have become somewhat superior. And I'm not saying it as if anybody's better than anyone else, but I do feel like there's certain things evolutionally, if that's a word, where we have learned how to cope or deal with situations and shut down the part of us that is affected by that situation so that we don't go insane, and so that we can continue to focus. And that's basically what happened. I think I mentioned it in the other video. It was a holiday. I think it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I had found this sweet potato pie recipe. I was talking to my mother-in-law about it. I really wanted it to be a family thing. Like I've told you guys before, I'm really big on arts and crafts. Like I haven't said it a lot, but I'm super big on creativity, arts and crafts. I was the kid with my mom who was baking cakes in the kitchen, and we were always doing like different activities. And I wanted my kids' childhood to be full, and not just full of busy work or things that preoccupied their time, but I wanted it to be full of experiences, whether it be going to different places or eating different foods or artistically being creative. That's what I wanted for my children. And I snapped when this man, after I had told him that I was going to give the marriage 6 months. And I'm not saying I did everything right, because after I checked out completely and I told him that I was giving him 6 months, my patience level was literally the size of an ant. And he did everything, because he knew I was done with him, to dance on my last motherfucking nerve. Hey guys, editing me here. I just realized realized I forgot to finish the story. Okay. So basically, we were supposed to make these pies, and I said I wanted it to be a family activity with us and the kids, try to bond. This man basically told me to make the damn pie by myself. Okay. He did not participate. The kids participated, and he walked around the house lurking and sulking and drinking for the rest of the night. Okay. And I snapped. So I made decisions at 23 or 24, however old I was, that I am not proud of, but I did it. And, I'm at peace with it because at the end of the day, I got away. I got the fuck away. And sometimes you have to do things that you're not proud of to get out of situations that could possibly be a threat to your life. That's my personal experience somewhat on marrying the enemy. But it's very interesting when I see other people come out and talk about the ways that they realized that they married the enemy. I'm not going to say I'm happy about it, but I am happy that we're having more of a conversation. A lot of people are afraid to speak up. A lot of people are afraid to leave these marriages. A lot of people have obligatory reasons, whether it's children, whether it's their religion, whether it's their families, whether it's image or reputation in their career or in their community. People are scared. They're fearful to leave these marriages that really need to be thrown away. And I'm not necessarily advocating divorce because I do feel that there's a certain level of balance that we have to have with every situation that we deal with in our lives. And not all marriages are horrible in the way that she described her marriage in that video. But there are a lot that are really bad. And there are a lot of people who really don't need to be together. They don't need to be together. They don't need to be raising kids. And they definitely don't need to project that negativity out on society or have society deal with that. But there are times where sometimes people over exaggerate and the marriage is really not that bad, but it's really more so subjective based on your personal opinion. But what I feel like when it comes to marrying the enemy and all the ways that people are speaking up about these things is that what we have to remember when it comes to relationships, whether it's literal legal marriage or maybe it's cohabitation or commitment in a relationship, we have to remember that people change over time.
If there's one constant in marriage, it is change.
Always
the
change.
person you married is not the person you're living with a year from now, 2 years, 3 years.
And if we're observing a situation or if we're in a situation where we're trying to comprehend or empathize with what's going on, we have to understand that every moment of every day, we are changing. We're constantly growing. Our skin is constantly shedding. Scientifically, we don't have the same skin that we were born with. We probably don't have the same hair that we were born with. We're constantly people who are evolving. There needs to be more love, compassion, and empathy when it comes to observing and dealing with these situations. And I don't think it's right for people to come online and tell other people when it comes to their experience that they should have known this or they should have known that. Because there's no way. There's no way that you can know how someone is going to evolve and change. I think there was a post that I saw online where somebody had put on Twitter or X that there's different versions of a person throughout different stages of the relationship. And I think she was specifically talking about mothers and the person who she chooses to be the father of her children. There's a version of the person that you see when you first meet them. There's a version of the person that you see as you gradually get to know them. There's a version of a person that you see when you decide to move in together, when you decide to get married, when you decide to have children. All these different versions of people will either morph into reality or evolve into reality, or they will reveal themselves as different circumstances come up, which leads me back to what I said in the beginning, is that every choice that we make is based upon another choice that we've already made, which will lead into another choice that we're going to make in the future. And I feel like the key takeaway from all of these conversations and all of these things is that sometimes, yes, people don't change. But if you're a person who really wants to be more and do more in your life, subsequently, you will change because you're going to be the person who's doing the work. You're going to be the person who's making the effort. You're going to be the person who wants to put their best foot forward. And when you are someone, because there are spiritual connotations to this, I will say I am a more spiritual person. I'm not religious at all. But there are connections to your personal life path and to your personal journey when it comes to why these things happen, right? But anyone who's been in a situation where they've married the enemy and successfully overcome that and really taken the time to do the work, not only to heal themselves, but to take accountability, more than likely end up being very successful. Because anything that you would have wanted in that marriage or anything that you thought you could have had, literally escaping a situation where you feel caged is going to create momentum energetically in your life. And if you use it wisely, and if you choose to handle the situation maturely, then your life will never be the same. It will constantly improve. And what I will say is that it's not always easy if you have not dealt with your trauma, whatever that may be. It's not easy to identify the United Nations of red flags. It's not easy to accept it. It's not easy to move past it. I think that's true for all of us when it comes to whatever aspect of our life that we've continuously struggled with. Some people continuously struggle with keeping a job, being independent, self-esteem, things like that have always been a focal point for you in your life. And self-reflection, accountability, and also personal growth, it's the hardest. It's literally, let me tell you something, okay? Let me get close. Those things are literally the hardest thing that you can do in your life. The hardest thing for any human being to do is evolve and improve. That's why so many people have chosen to de-evolve. That's why so many people have chosen to be stagnant, is because making actual change in your life is hard. But one thing that I realized when it comes to my situation, marrying the enemy, is that had it not been for that experience, I wouldn't have really understood that there was a problem with me. And it did take several other experiences in culmination with that to understand that there was a problem with me and I needed to really get down to business and fix it. But had it not been for that tipping point, that catalyst, that first domino, I would not have understood how much I was carrying when it comes to baggage and trauma and just bullshit that I didn't need. I would have never understood how much I was carrying and how much that was weighing me down, because I would not be able to sit in front of you right now making this video had it not been for that horrible marriage. And I would have not been able to help as many people who I've helped within my spiritual business had it not been for that horrible marriage. And I'm not saying by any means that my ex is the cause of why I am where I am today, but the situation was definitely a necessary catalyst for me to realize within myself what my creator has always wanted me to see and that I was struggling to understand. I guess overall, what I want to express through this video, again, which I guess this is becoming a part of my philosophy, but what I wanted to express through this video is not only gratitude for Risa Tisa and appreciation for her, but I also wanted to express to the women who may be watching this especially, and even the men, because listen, at this point where we are, I'm not discriminating on gender or however you choose to see yourself with anybody. But what I would like to express and what my intention is from this video is for people who are in a situation where they feel like they're married to the enemy or living with the enemy or in a committed relationship with the enemy. I just want you guys to know that it's never too late to say no. It's never too late to back out. You're never too deep to leave. And if you feel in your spirit, in your soul, in your heart of hearts, that is really what you need to do, please do not hesitate to do it, because the longer time goes on, the worse it's going to get. And literally, there has to be an anointed reason for my children to be here, because their spirits were strong enough to make their way into this world despite the adversity that they faced. And I know that there's a reason for their life, and I know it's going to be a big reason. And I'm not upset about the sacrifice that I made, because it's a sacrifice to have children, be a mother, to raise a family, to have children, be a father, raise a family. There's just certain sacrifices that you make in life when there are things that you want or things that you think you want. And I can honestly say that there's still things that I get upset about, but at the end of the day, like truthfully, I'm not actually in a place where I'm still angry with my ex-husband. I'm more so in a place where I'm adamant and serious and devoted excited about improving myself and continuing to improve my life. Because we have children, there's still ways that he tries to manipulate my life. And, at this point, that's okay. Like, he can do whatever he wants to do. But I know that there's a level of protection on my life that is unmatched. And what I want people to know is that when it's hard for you to make that choice to leave a situation that you know is not in your best judgment, please do not lie to yourself. Don't hurt yourself and make yourself feel guilty. Don't convince yourself of something that's happening right in front of your face or that you feel is happening within your marriage or your relationship. Literally allow the honesty to flow. Because one thing that I wish I would have done when I was married to my personal enemy is tell the truth. To myself, first and foremost, and to the people around me. I wish I would have told myself the truth so that I could have maybe avoided situations more quickly and taken advantage of resources that were not unlimited and everlasting. Because there were definitely times where I was given a hand from God to basically be able to escape, and I didn't take it. And that opportunity expired. So if you're in a situation where you feel that you need to go, please just go. Don't stick around. Don't wait to find out. Don't say that that's probably not it or it couldn't possibly be it. Just do your research. Do what you need to do your research. Have the conversations that you need to have and make a game plan, because that's literally the only way that you can get out from under an abusive person's thumb, is to make a game plan. Not only just that, but be mindful of what you do to get away. Be mindful of the ways that you move and the choices that you make when it comes to removing yourself from a person or a situation that is not in your best interest. Because one of the things that I do regret, but that I've made peace with, is how I left and what I've done and the actions I took that I'm not necessarily 100% proud of, but that I've made peace with. Because at the end of the day, honestly, people who take advantage of you will literally push you to situations where you make bad choices. And I feel like it's something that's on their spirit. Like, I honestly feel like this is an energy of whatever you want to call it. It could be a demon, it could be an entity, but it's a negative vibrational force that's on their spirit, sent to stop you or hold you back from the personal goals that you have or from your own individual destiny. And if you don't believe in destiny, if you don't believe in that karma and all those types of things, then that's fine. But I do. And part of the reason why I still struggle now is because of the ways that I chose to handle the situation and because of the ways that I ignored God's favor and wanted to do it my way. So it's just crazy. The world is crazy right now. This is a crazy time to be alive. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this message. I hope that you got some value from it. I hope that there was nothing that I left out. But, put your comments below. Let me know what you think. If you resonated with this message or it hit you in some type of way, share your experience. Let people know what it is that you went through or the ways that you may have handled or risen above the personal situation that you may have had where you were married to your enemy. And more than anything, keep your head up, because right now is not a time to get lost in the sauce of depression and being down. You can literally come up out of any situation. And I am proof of that. I'm living proof, consistently moving and evolving. So I hope in whatever way, shape, or form, this video was able to help you see a little bit of that within yourself and give you strength in the power that you have to overcome whatever situation that you may be dealing with. Okay? That's all I got, honey. Like the video, subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.